you been to the Library of Congress? If not, Thursdays are the perfect time to visit. Join them after hours for Live at the Library, where cocktails in the iconic Thomas Jefferson Building meets live music, author talks, crafting, exhibits, and more. Every week is different, free, and inspired by the library's collections. Don't miss their summer movies on the lawn, screenings of pop classics from the National Film Registry, starting July 9th with Clueless. Plan your next night out. Visit loc.gov/live. Today on CityCast DC, I'm talking with CityCast CEO David Plotz and executive producer Annie Rees about the new news organization that we're building within CityCast. Then I'm going to be joined by my new CityCast colleagues, Ben Brasch and Alyssa Fowers, who are two members of that same new team we're building. And we're going to talk about the Great American State Fair and Alyssa's deep dive into mayoral campaign numbers. Plus, in a members-only fourth segment, Ben is going to walk us through his reporting on the ongoing fallout over the campaign finance charges against Janeese Lewis George. These are the ones that dropped right before Election Day, to a lot of people's chagrin. It's Monday, June 26th. I'm Michael Schaefer, and here's what DC's talking about. Hey, Annie.
Hey, Mike.
So we have special guests today, a powerful person in our midst.
I know, it's terrifying.
CityCast CEO David Plotz, but that's actually not your most important job at the moment.
It is not my most important job. My most important job is being your guys' boss and colleague here in DC. Where I've been helping you all build up the new CityCast DC over the past couple months.
Which is what we're here to talk about.
Yeah. So I invited myself on the podcast today because we have a new CityCast DC to announce. We've been kind of dribbling it out. We've been dribbling out news over months as Annie and Mike and our colleagues have just been like gearing up. But now I just wanted to come on and just brag a bit about what we're doing, talk about what we're doing, and sort of let listeners know what they should expect from us.
So what should they expect from you?
I would start by saying I'm a lifelong Washingtonian like you, Mike. If you're very lucky, once or twice in your career, you get to work with people you really admire on a project you believe in, which CityCast is 1,000%, and that makes your own community a better place. And that's what we have right now. And CityCast's new incarnation in Washington is going to be an obsessively local news outlet. We began 4 years ago. We were a daily podcast and newsletter here. We were aiming to connect our readers and listeners to the city, and we've done that really well. And you, Mike, and Bridget have just hosted a wonderful podcast here. But then when the Washington Post, our beloved Washington Post, decided to basically abandon their hometown a few months ago, CityCast owner, which is the Graham Holdings Company, and Graham, as in the Graham family, as in Catherine Graham and Don Graham.
As in who used to own the Washington Post.
As in who used to own the Washington Post. They recognize that Washington, D.C. cannot thrive without great local news. And so they have given CityCast DC the resources to build a fantastic local newsroom. And so we've gone and hired up a team, and we now have about a dozen journalists, 8 reporters to start with, more to come. And we're going to be covering and breaking the most important news for Washingtonians. And we're going to do that on the web. We're going to do that on social media, in newsletters, and on podcasts. We have a new website. Our website just got relaunched this week at dc.citycast.fm or at citycastdc.com. And we have newsletters that are covering the culture, that are covering all the news that's fit to print. Mike, you're writing this amazing daily DC newsletter that's all about what's happening in Washington. It's been so good. And we expect to be like deeply, richly in the diet of Washingtonians who really want to know what's happening in the city.
The most fun thing about doing that newsletter is that this week a lot of it actually was linking to my own colleagues' work, my own new CityCast colleagues' work.
It was so cool to see.
It's been, up to now, it was a lot of linking. I mean, look, there is still a local media ecosystem. It's not what it used to be. And I try to find good stories in that as well as from around the country that touch on things in our city. But this week I got to my new colleague, Ben Brasch. He went really early to the Great American State Fair to check out the crowds.
That was so funny.
On the way back.
He's such a funny goofball. Ben is an incredibly talented reporter and just a great hang.
On the way back, he got a call with like a tip about something we're going to talk about later in the show, but having to do with politics because he's our City Hall reporter. I've had stuff from Emma Uber, who's who's been sort of a general assignments, but is moving into her natural milieu of cops and crime and courts for us. Jackie Piser's our one of my favorite beat, as listeners of the daily podcast will know. I'm geeky for the way the city looks, but she's going to be writing about real estate and development and business. It's just been really cool to be linking out to thorough, comprehensive DC news and finding it on our own website.
And Alyssa Fowers, our new data reporter, who has a new piece breaking down how where Janeese Lewis George won around the city, which is basically everywhere. Another thing I want to say is, I don't know if you guys feel this way. There's almost this funhouse mirror element to what we're doing here that is so refreshing, which is that in an era where media is shrinking and local media has been shrinking, and also where DC itself, as a city and as an economy, has had a really rough couple of years. There is something that's sort of the upside down, but in a really satisfying and energizing way about the fact that we are staffing up, and we are trying to cover the most important stories in DC, that we are growing into this, extremely powerful newsroom. And it's just a real thrill. And it's a real thrill to go from what we have been as a daily podcast and newsletter, and to keep expanding that, and to have this sense of purpose where, we look around and it's oh, cuts here, cuts there, but that's not what's happening here. And that's one thing I think we're all really proud of.
So what I have found in DC the last year and a half is, look, this is a city which has a lot of transients, people like my parents, right? They came here to work in the federal government. Day after day, the Washington Post would come to our house. Day after day, the Metro section would go unread. And they always thought, when we get out of government, we're going to go back to New York, where we're from, blah, blah, blah. And then they retired, and of course, their whole life was here, and they began reading the paper. I think there's a lot of people like that in DC. And over the last year and a half, because of the kind of trauma that's been visited on the city, because of the sense of massive change, all of a sudden, I have been having conversations about the future of the city, the shape of the city, with people who
the identity of the city,
identity of the city, with people who really didn't devote any of their leisure time to thinking about this place that we live, work, and play. And that makes it a great moment to be, providing information and context in this world.
Yeah, that's beautifully said, Mike. I feel exactly the same way. The interest in the city, both because of the trauma and because of what's happened in its media world. The Post has been, it's been like the Washington Monument of journalism. It is is a defining element of Washington, D.C. They've made movie after movie about it. It is one of the great media institutions historically in the country, and just at the heart of how people saw their city. And now it's not there anymore. And so somebody, and that somebody is going to be us, has to come in and help people understand, make sense of, enjoy their city. And I would note, we're not the only ones doing this. I'm a very competitive person, and I am actually kind of thrilled that we are not the only outlet that sees an opportunity here. I hope it's going to be a golden age for DC journalism, because CityCast DC is staffed up. So is Notice, so is Axio, so is the 51st, so is the Baltimore Banner. The Post, it's not chopped liver. And we're all going to be fighting for scoops and for readers. And I think that's going to be good for you all as listeners, and will make everybody's work better. And I'm just, I would just invite you, if you listen to this podcast, to check out dc.citycast.fm, to check out the website, sign up for the
social
newsletter.
media channels.
Our social media channels are whatever the kids are saying today, on fleek, as they were saying.
Oh no, boo.
It is the social media channels are so good though. And yeah. And
can I say one other thing? That we're doing this sort of backwards thing. Like it is pretty traditional, right? There's a long-standing newspaper or magazine or something, and it starts a podcast. And we're doing it the other way around, right? We started with a podcast, and now we're starting a news organization. And it's sometimes weird in-house because the culture of making a podcast and the culture of making a newspaper, which is often adversarial and difficult, are different. But one of the things that I hope comes from podcast into the news reporting world is the thing of coming on a podcast is you're supposed to sort of tell it like it is, to break it down, like here's what happened, and not do this kind of quiet, overly safe, cautious, scared circumlocution that a lot of quote unquote responsible media does. And I'm hoping that the spirit of just like break it down and tell it like it is lives in all of our platforms, not just the podcast.
Huzzah.
Huzzah, I think it will. I'd be remiss if I didn't include a membership ask here, which is that in order to support this extremely exciting work we're doing, you should become a member. You can get there by going to membership.citycast.fm. It's $10 a month or $100 for the year. It's a great way to put your money where your mouth is and support, an incredible local media organization.
Annie, they've got to go make a real podcast. You and I should go do some other work.
All right. See you later, Mike. Have a good podcast.
Go make us some money.
We'll do.
I have a bit of good news to share from our sponsors at the DC Department of Behavioral Health. And that is that DC is turning a corner, and the numbers back it up. Fatal opioid overdose dropped 33% in this city from 2023 to 2024. Now, that is not just data. That's real people and real families that are still together. But listen, the work isn't done, and neither are we. If you or someone that you love is struggling, help is closer than you think. Text Live Long DC to 888-811 to connect with treatment, housing, and recovery support right here in the district. Free Narcan is available at nearly 40 locations across DC because nobody should lose someone for lack of access. And if you're in crisis right now, call or text 988. Know your worth, know your alternatives, know your value, know yourself. Recovery is possible. Find out how at knowyourpathdc.com.
Did you know that there's a new charitable tax deduction? This means that you can save money by donating to charity and make your dollar go further by giving back to your community. If half of all DMV married couples who don't itemize fully use this new deduction, we would raise $1 billion for local nonprofits. Spur Local's Everyday Giving Pledge is a simple commitment you can make today to give more and give at least half of your donations to local nonprofits. Visit everydaygivingpledge.org to learn more. All right, now I'm joined by Ben and Alyssa. Hey guys, how's it going?
Howdy, thanks for having us.
Going great. How are you?
So Ben, for folks who have not listened to him yet, is our new city politics and government reporter. Alyssa is our new data reporter. And they've both had stories up on the site this week, which I hope you will all check out. Ben was also landed on a story that I don't think he'd planned to do because it's not entirely part of his bailiwick, but he was up at the mall on Thursday, walking through the Great American State Fair, which I did the next day. And holy moly, you guys. It is, like there's whole books written about like the Chicago exposition, like the 1890s and the New York World's Fair of 1939. There might be a book written about this someday, but not maybe the same kind of book. I think it is almost impossible to describe how cheap and tacky the thing looks.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. It may not be my bailiwick, but I have a large strike zone as a big boy. It does indeed look cheap. It looks very new money. It doesn't look great. We knew the 250th was coming for, I think, 250 years, but here we are.
Well, so you went up there to look at the crowd, which was A, overwhelming with lines stretching down the block, or B, not?
Closer to B.
How crowded was it?
Not very. I mean, to be fair, middle of the day on a Thursday, people have real jobs, not like me, where they can't just go in the middle of the day to, the opening of a state fair. But if one could just think for a second that maybe it's a lot of tourists who would be coming to the state fair, people were, lightly filtering in, I would say. That if you wanted to ride the Ferris wheel, you maybe had to wait a little. If you wanted to say hi to the horses, you could walk right up and do so.
So our colleague Kayla Cote-Stemmerman was there Thursday night when the Ferris wheel stopped working. So you couldn't do that for a while, at least. By the time I went back on Friday, Ferris wheel working. Again, it was a breeze getting in. There was a lot of barriers so a line could kind of snake around. There was no snaking to be done. So there's these buildings. And again, I don't mean to sound like a snob here, but the buildings that house the sort of 56 state and territory exhibitions and the various exhibitors, which seem to involve a lot of companies that do federal business with the Trump administration and some religious organizations. These buildings, it's like they look from a distance as if they have ionic columns on them and porticos and stuff. And then you get close to them and you realize these are just Xerox enlargements of those things that have been pasted to the side of these temporary structures, sometimes not pasted very well. There are some sort of column-y things, but one of them had broken a little bit and you could see that it was styrofoam. If they had just gone to a county fair and gotten the regular Midway stuff with lemonade stands and stuff, it would have looked fine, because that's what you think of when you think state fair. Maybe this is just the emerging Washington aesthetic of the Trump years, but this reach for the grandeur made it look really weird and like you're in an alien, no fun foreign country or something.
Yeah, Mike, I have to correct you. You're completely incorrect. It's stapled on. It wasn't pasted on, the weird vinyl stuff. So just, we're really fair and honest here. I just wanted to be clear. The weird vinyl stuff was stapled onto the outside of the buildings. I didn't see any paste involved. But yeah, it looked from far away to be real, and then up close isn't. Sure, that's a really slam dunk easy joke. I saw one person online compare it to the Willy Wonka experience, if anyone remembers that, week on the internet, where people were promised this big thing, and then ended up being not so. It's an interesting choice for sure. And yeah, I would have liked some lemonade. It was really hot. There was no shade. It was the mall.
It was $10.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to try and expense it my first week. So.
And the AC wasn't working in the food hall when I was there. Alyssa, are you a person who likes fairs and Americana or not so much?
I love state fairs. Americana, I don't know, but the fairs, all
What's
about
your
it.
favorite?
There is a tremendous one in Miami-Dade County where I grew up. It's roughly the size of the mall. There's rides up, down, sideways. You can enter any kind of animal or craft or what have you, which has always been sort of my preferred interaction with the fair. My understanding is that is not what you will get on the mall right now.
There is a Ferris wheel, and look, a lot of people in Washington really don't like Trump and really don't like what Trump is doing to the city, don't like the aesthetic. I don't like the aesthetic either. But I was actually pro Great American State Fair. I think the idea of treating them all as a place where fun stuff can happen is awesome, right? And we don't do enough of that. And I was really glad to see that happening. But there's a Ferris wheel. That's it. There was one sort of forlorn looking game of cornhole that someone had left out and no one was playing it. But there was no other rides or attractions. There were these state pavilions that were pretty lame. I don't know that state pavilions can be other than lame, but these were lame. There was a livestock area and there were some horses you could see. But it was not like if I had brought little kids there, they would have, there was this area that said stroller parking area, and there were 0 strollers parked there, because if I had brought kids, they would have been bored really quickly. And the thing about the United States of America is we're really, really good at fairs and diversions, right? This is our strong suit. It's not like they were putting on an exhibition of some sort of art that we are not excellent at. This is our wheelhouse. And come on, guys, we can do much better than this.
In my heart, if a fair doesn't have a giant funnel, elephant ears the size of your face, bigger, like a ride that will make you puke, and fancy chickens, it's not really a fair. So I don't know what to say about this.
As a former Miami-Dade resident, I feel like there's a little bit of Dade County coming out with the fancy chickens. But that's not...
I just mean like the Murch Elementary School Fall Fair in my neighborhood in D.C. is kind of more lively than this was.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, think about how many states
There's
do this
bouncy
well.
houses. Oh, and the other thing is, and Ben, you noted this in your piece, it is still the mall, which means there ain't no shade. There were people hiding in the shade of a scale model of the Arc de Trump that has detail on one part of it and the otherwise is just like vinyl or something. So there's no benches that I could see. So it's, I think, a thing that it's going to make people want to go inside.
Yeah, and if they want to go inside and still do fair stuff, the Renwick actually has a really cool state fair exhibit on right now, including my favorite, a quilt that a woman made out of ribbons that she won at the state fair, sometimes for making other quilts. So if you want to see a cow made out of butter in a room that's a freezer that's entirely designated for this butter cow, I would say go to the Renwick. Because
They actually have the butter cow there, or just a picture
They have
of
a
the
butter cow. No, a big old butter cow. They've made like an atrium into a freezer so it doesn't melt.
It's the dream to be a butter cow in a room made for you, honestly.
See, that's the kind of weird stuff that I want at a fair, you know? I want to have my mind blown, and a butter cow might do that for me.
So Alyssa,
Hi, I'm David Plotz. I'm the CEO of CityCast, a podcast network that includes this show you're listening to, and also 12 other CityCasts in 12 other cities. And each one knows their city as well as your local team knows yours. So isn't it time we connected them? Don't you want to know how they're tackling their bike lane problems and housing challenges and sidewalk dog poop crises? That's why I'm hosting a new podcast called Your City Could Be Better. Because it could be. Every week, I'll chat with a different host in our CityCast network about what their cities are doing right and wrong, the weird things they're trying, and the surprising successes, so that we can all learn how to make our cities a little bit better. Listen to Your City Could Be Better on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
so you filed your first CityCast story this week.
I did, yes.
You dove into, it's been a week of a lot of election postmortems. Why Janeese Lewis George won, why Democratic Socialists are having a moment, why, quote unquote, the establishment is not. But you actually, as a data reporter, you play with numbers. What did you find in there? 'Cause you made some maps that really show this was a very, very impressive win.
Yeah, I mean, in full honesty, this is it's more of like an exploratory surgery than a post-mortem because the final results aren't technically in, but I mean, it's pretty clear that Janeese Lewis George won handily. So like you said, the charts and the maps show really clearly that she won 80% of the precincts in Washington, D.C. She's ahead by huge margins in 7 of the 8 wards of the city, and the Kenny McDuffie's margin in 3 is really, really slim. The turnout was actually a lot higher than I think folks were expecting. It's the highest turnout since 2010. And I think there was a lot of conversation about this being sort of a low enthusiasm election. So whether this reflects voter enthusiasm, whether it just reflects wanting to vote for something while we're living with a president that we didn't get a say in, who's to say?
Well, so in 2010, I remember that election. It was an incredibly polarized election, which was a little bit like this one in the sense that, like, there were two sides that were very clearly demarcated. In retrospect, the policy implications of 2010 were pretty small, but basically at the time, Adrian Fenty was the incumbent mayor. He had alienated particularly a lot of the older Black community in Washington. They thought he was disrespectful, et cetera. But the critique boiled down to, like, he's kind of a dick. And people got incredibly passionate and exercised about it. And in this election, although, a lot of people said, like, I don't really like the choice we've got. The choice was like a very clear choice. It was not like, oh, these are candidates that, see eye to eye about a lot of things. They really painted in very clear divisions and even though historically they hadn't been that different. And maybe that is a reason for this high turnout.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I know in the last week before the election, I was definitely getting a lot of ads that were like, come save our Chipotles from McDuffie, which may or may not be, what people wanted to hear.
What was he going to do with the Chipotles?
Oh, save them. It was highly focused on the Chipotle brawl.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I don't think you can go after fast casual and get elected in this city. I feel like we kind of invented fast casual. So it may have been that. It may have been the sort of anti-endorsement from Trump of Janeese Lewis George. It's really hard, the numbers don't tell you why they are what they are. They just tell you what they are.
You noted which wards Janeese Lewis George led in. It's amazing the difference between Ward 1, which was just an absolute blowout. She's up by like 42 points or something. And the other wards where it's around sort of 10 to 20, except for Ward 3, where she's just the sort of rich, historically the richest, whitest, most suburban ward, where she is narrowly trailing. What is Ward 1? Who's there? What does that indicate?
So Ward 1 is pretty liberal even for DC. It's pretty dense. It's the sort of center of Hispanic life in the district, and it's where a lot of newcomers go, which sort of goes along with a lot of the polling we were seeing before the election.
That newcomers were particularly strong with Lewis George. Did anything surprise you in these numbers?
I feel a little bad for saying it because because it's sort of like, beating on a dead horse, but there were wards where McDuffie didn't win any precincts, not a one. And that was a surprise to me. I did sort of expect to see a bigger sort of range of opinions within the wards rather than them being sort of so uniform.
So where do you find this data? Because I know regular citizens can play around with it too, right?
Oh, yeah. The Board of Elections has it on their website. They are updating it constantly as they get new data in. I believe they have said that they're expecting the final results to be out July 2nd or so. And you can look at the results by ward, by precinct. You can go back in time and look at other elections, some of the other ones that we talked about. I don't necessarily recommend trying to go back before about 2010 because then you'll be fighting some gnarly spreadsheets. But if you want to look at recent history, it's really fun.
Today, paid subscribers get a bonus fourth roundup chat. We're going to talk about the campaign finance scandal that you might remember from the last days of the mayoral campaign and its afterlife that Ben has been reporting on. If you want to be sure you always get the full episode, please become a member. Head to membership.citycast.fm and sign up. It's only $10 a month. Members get ad-free listening, exclusive members events, and an extra events newsletter every week. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm. And that is all for today here on CityCast DC. I'm your host, Michael Schaefer. You can get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to the CityCast DC newsletter. If you enjoyed today's show, why not go to the Great American State Fair, take that Ferris wheel, and shout about it from the very top. See you back here tomorrow for more news from around the city. Bye.